Hi, and welcome to the Grandparents and Beyond tutorial, adding insights and meaning to the Passover Seder. Passover always holds a sense of adventure for me. When I was a child, I lived in New York City in a high rise on the Upper West Side. My father's sister and her family lived in Philadelphia in a large 100-year-old stone house with a front and back staircase. We always spent the week of Passover with them, and my sister and I were given the entire third floor with the playroom and library as our own. Now that I'm an adult, I can see how spending the week with them saved my mother lots of prep work. But as a child, I only saw the excitement of spending a week with my cousins in a very different magical environment. This source book focuses on preparing our hearts and minds for Passover and provides lots of opportunities to share memories and create some new ones as well. Before you start, make sure everyone is on board, including the parents or guardians. Read the texts and choose the activities and conversation questions that work for your family or group. Don't feel that you need to complete the entire booklet. The recommended ages for texts, conversations, and activities are marked by the icons you see on the screen. But your youngsters might be ready for things that are in an older age group, or they might enjoy a game that is recommended for younger kids. You and your youngsters are the best judges of which activities to do, and the discussions can go wherever you like. There are no right or wrong answers. Also, make sure that you have the supplies you'll need for the activities. For the first activity, you'll want to order seed paper in advance. Seed paper is a special eco-friendly paper made from post-consumer materials embedded with wildflower, herb, or vegetable seeds. When you plant the paper in a pot of soil or outside in the garden, the seeds in the paper germinate and grow into plants. There's a link in the source book to a website where you can buy it. This vendor is very reliable, and the paper can be ordered at less than $2.50 for 8.5 by 11 sheet if you're just ordering a small quantity. You can choose from many colors of paper, and delivery is 3 to 7 business days. So, of course, factor that in when you're planning to do this activity. Another activity you might want to prepare for in advance is bidikat chametz, the search for chametz. We'll discuss that in more detail in a minute. You'll need a feather, a plate, and a candle or flashlight. So much of our preparation for Passover is about the physical work that's necessary to prepare our homes for the holiday. We often forget to leave ourselves times to spiritually prepare for this important time. However, if we're going to help ourselves and our families to truly experience the power of Passover, we need to prepare our hearts and minds just as we prepare our homes. Let's look at Passover as a beginning. Rosh Hashanah is called the Jewish New Year and is seen as the anniversary of the creation of the world. Passover is thought of as another new year. It's considered the anniversary of the beginning of the Jewish people. For this reason, Passover is a good time to think about your own personal beginning. How will you grow in the coming year? What do you hope to accomplish? This is a great conversation starter and an opportunity to learn what is important to your youngster and to share things that matter to you. You and your youngsters can write your plans for the new season on seeded paper. Plant the seeded paper as a symbol of spring renewal. Water it, and when the seeds grow, it'll remind you of your new start in the new season. Bidikat chametz is a symbolic search to find and destroy any hidden leaven after you've cleaned your house for Passover. It's a memorable hands-on family activity to do the night before Passover starts. Adults hide bits of chametz and let the children find them at nightfall by candle or flashlight and sweep them into a bowl using a feather. It's customary to destroy the bits the morning before the first Seder. Here's an opportunity to share memories and build new traditions. As the youngest of the cousins, I remember the thrill of finally being old enough to hold the candle as we searched for chametz on the winding back stairs. I remember my uncle's hand over mine, holding the candle so tightly that my fingers hurt. I guess they didn't really trust me with the candle yet. As an adult, I raised my family in a ranch house with no back staircase, but the tradition continued with my children, and they created a new tradition. Instead of burning the chametz the next morning, they would go outside and feed it to the birds that were searching for food as spring was just beginning in New Jersey. There are opportunities here for you and your youngsters to create new traditions as well. Chametz is puffed up and symbolizes haughtiness and arrogance. Tradition teaches that we humble ourselves before God, who took us out of Egypt by eating matzah. Let's look at an excerpt from Spring Cleaning Ritual on the Eve of Full Moon Nisan, a poem by Rabbi Lynn Gottlieb, and see the conversation it sparks. On the eve of the full moon, we search our houses by the light of a candle for the trace of winter, for the last crumbs grown stale inside us, for the last darkness still in our hearts. Look in your pockets and the pockets of those around you for traces of Mitzrayim. Let's look at the questions that's this. Let's look at the conversation that this poem sparks. According to the poem, what are we searching for as we prepare for Passover? Where are we searching? Why? The Hebrew word for Egypt is Mitzrayim, which translates as tight or narrow place, from the Hebrew word tsar. What does it feel like to be in a narrow place? What do you think the poet means when she asks us to look in our pockets for traces of Mitzrayim? There's a great opportunity here to share personal thoughts, as well as thoughts about what is going on in the world around us. The next activity reminds us of how long a tradition it has been for Jewish people to hold Seders. Here are 4 images of Passover celebrations throughout history. In each one, we can find Passover items that are consistent, no matter when or where the Seder was held. Search the images with your youngsters. See if you can find candles, Seder plate, Haggadah, wine, matzah. Not all of the images have all 5 items, but they do contain other traditional Passover items. For example, foods. See what other Passover things you can find. I especially want to show you the lower left picture. This is an old photograph from the 1930s by Arnold Eagle. Eagle said, "I became interested in this subject in 1934 because I felt at that time that this interesting culture was disappearing in the United States because their children were going to public school and becoming assimilated and Americanized and left their parents' culture." This is an interesting thought for us as grandparents. Are there items your family puts on their Seder table that are different from these? Passover is a time when new traditions are welcome, and Passover traditions continue to evolve everywhere that Jewish people celebrate Passover. Perhaps your family has a vegan shank bone or an orange on the Seder plate. For more information about these and other new traditions, you can download the Chai Mitzvah Virtual Haggadah. This Haggadah incorporates meaningful traditions and ideas from our participants. You can download it at no cost on the Chai Mitzvah website. There's a link to it on the bottom of the next page. There's also a link that I really hope you'll click on to share your own ideas and traditions with Chai Mitzvah. The link goes to my email, and I'll add your ideas to the Haggadah we made last year. What is unique about your family's celebration? The next activity invites you to write a Passover sensory poem together. Describe your all-time favorite Passover sights, smells, feelings, tastes, and sounds. The 4 questions are a very important part of the Seder, especially for the youngsters. The next section of our booklet focuses on the 4 questions. The text is included in English, Hebrew, and transliteration, so if they want to, your youngsters can practice singing them. There's also a link to a book called 300 Ways to Ask the 4 Questions. Along with fun Seder activities, this book contains translations of the Seder's 4 questions into hundreds of languages, spanning the entire globe, as well as sign language and even Pig Latin. You can click on the link on page 7 of the Chai Mitzvah booklet and see the 4 questions in Pig Latin. Right here. Our preparation for Passover ends with you and your youngsters expanding your thoughts to include the world we live in today. What questions do you have? What would you change if you could? I hope that all of these activities and conversations have provided you with lots of opportunities to share memories and create some new ones of your own. See you next time.